Welcome to the Young Crones Cafe, where you can get a magic brew full of all sorts of information, both witchy and practical.
Grab a cup of coffee and join us. I'm Elizabeth, a wordsmith.
And I'm Dave, a modern-day sage.
We are going to talk about various witchcraft and life topics from a slightly more mature perspective, at least most of the time.
Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Dave.
Hi, Elizabeth. How are you?
I'm hanging in. I'm just counting down the days. 7 more.
Oh, that's right. You've got big surgery coming up, yeah?
From today, I get a brand new shoulder. I guess I don't know, a newer model. What do they call that? What would you call it?
Yeah, cyborg.
Yeah, that's what my grandchildren said. Thanks.
You know, not for nothing, but it seems to be the era of remaking old movies and remaking television shows. I wonder if we should pitch to Comedy Central something along the lines of
$6 Million Man.
$6 Million Witch. Yeah.
Oh, there we go. I like that one. Hey, now when I go through metal detectors, I'll set them up high and low.
Yeah, there you go. So I'm happy to see that you're doing well and in a good mood, because I know tonight's going to be a little difficult.
I think so.
Change and growth always is. And tonight we're actually kind of addressing the fact that we have finished a chapter that you and Susie began.
Yes.
By choosing to go through each section of the metaphysical kernels of thought in your book, The Tradition of the Path. And unfortunately, she was too ill to be able to continue on, and I was blessed and able to be able to step in. And here a few weeks ago, we got to the end of this section, and
we went, oh my God, what do we do now?
So all right, we're done with the metaphysical kernels of thought, which is staying with that for a minute. It's a great foundation for the way things, especially in ritual and in the liturgy and psalms and whatnot. The metaphysical kernels of thought helped me learn how to speak to young crones, or how to speak the path. So they gave me the vocabulary to be able to understand, because some of our words are a little bit different than some of the traditional, Wicca or pagan themes or whatever. And where they're different, there's intention in the difference. So I really want to kind of compliment you and Susie on the way you were able to present these metaphysical kernels of thought, such that now, I'm not going to lie, I flip back through and I look at them, and I flip back through and I look at them, and I recognize that I feel a little bit differently about reading it this time than I did the last time. And that's, to me, that's good writing.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
I have... I'm very sorry that Susie wasn't able to finish this section with you, but like I said, I'm so blessed to be able to carry through with it. And, like you were just saying, we got to a point where, what are we going to do now? And that was the question that we kind of had to talk about.
Yeah, and thank you for saying that. Sue and I really wanted to describe it. And you're right, the metaphysical kernel of thought are the foundations kind of that we built everything else on. We had to have a common language and a common way of thinking about major things.
Sure. From a software or an engineering point of view, it's a framework.
Perfect.
It's scaffolding that you can put the concepts onto, sure.
Yeah, or anything else that we want to do, and having that common language, I think, deepened our experience of the rituals we did together. Because if I said X, she knew what X was.
Sure.
Or if she said Q, I knew exactly what she meant by Q, and we could flow better.
Even myself during those years when I was kind of watching and observing and absorbing. There were things that the two of you would say and words that you were use that I didn't realize until years later doing this podcast, that I had misconceived of idea of what it was that the two of you meant. So for me, this has been, if nothing else, a wonderful onboarding process.
Okay.
It's been an opportunity for me to kind of, in a way, become a convert to what Susie believed in, even after the fact. So anyway, I don't want to get either one of us any soggier than we already know.
We're going to be soggy later. I can see it.
The next page in the book, After Metaphysical Kernels of Thought, is the cover page for the rituals section. That is that section of the book, and then later became its own book entirely and whatnot. But that was what inspired me originally to have this cycle that we're going to talk about, is rituals. All right, well, instead of the rituals that Elizabeth and Sue were doing 3 years ago when we wrote this book, how about we review the way that Elizabeth and Dave are observing these same events and these same rituals. And from your point of view, you get to reflect on how things are different now than they were when it was the two of you.
Yeah.
But I think the idea here is we're going to spend a year walking this path.
Yeah, and we got to start, and if you listen to the extra next week, and if you didn't, parts of this are catch up to where we were going. We have the solar cycle, sine wave up down, where we have the solstices and equinoxes.
Like before you go down the list, the main idea here is that we are going to talk about each episode. We are going to talk about what rituals that we are either preparing for or just done from the different cycles that Elizabeth is going to mention. But we're also going to have discussions about personal workings that we're doing. We're going to try to have a little sample from our liturgy, so some poetry or some psalm or some chants, things like that. We're going to have sections that talk about the different ways that we practice every day. We're even going to actually get a revisit and start getting some Witchstone's Oracle readings again. I know that'd make you giggle.
Well,
the real meat and potatoes is going to be a year on the path, and these are the rituals that we are doing right now.
I like it, and as you said, the daily practices is. We're giving it a fancy name, the ritualization of the everyday, because that's what it really is.
Sure.
And a ritual doesn't have to be big and fancy. Now, our solar ones, the equinoxes and solstices.
So that was the segue I was going to give you to. Let's talk about for each episode, there should be at least 3 different layers of what's going on at that particular time. But as soon as we hit that word time, we started having an entirely different discussion.
God, did we ever?
Because, say, for example, tonight is a Thursday night, and this episode is going to go out next week on a Tuesday.
Live, yep.
So if we're talking about having a ritual today or the energy of the current full moon today, the conundrum became, are we talking about today or today?
Or live today. Yeah, exactly. And I don't know if you and I have really settled on anything yet. So we promised if the discussion gets really loud and lively, we're not mad at each other. So sometimes we want to make our point.
Well, yeah, and the thing is, do we want to talk about the energies that we are feeling on that day, which, if nothing else, is just going to be more humanist and more real and more genuine? Or do we want to talk about, all right, I'm going to do this thinking like it's next Tuesday, which will be the full moon or the equinox or whatever. Not for nothing, I can kind of see either side of it. And what I was going to suggest is, for the 9 people that are listening out there, please send us an email this week. Send an email to Dave or Elizabeth at youngcronescafe.com and help us sort out this timing. I mean, should we be precasting our spells for when y'all get a chance to listen to them? Or should we be reporting to you on the spells that we are doing on the days that we do them?
Yeah. Now, I am wondering, because for me, we had originally said when we started talking about this, these many 2.5 weeks ago, because
Because we ran out of medical kernels of thought.
we suddenly realized that, oh my God, we've been kind of casting around for what we were going to do next. And then it was like, the gods kicked us in the head with the cosmic 2x4, because like everything else, okay, the end is nigh, as they used to say. And we came up with this idea.
There is a light at the end of the tunnel, and it is in fact the train of time.
It's coming straight for your ass. Better run quick or flatten yourself against the wall.
Yep.
Hope to avoid getting squashed. But when we originally started talking about this, it was going to be, all right, as we're recording, this is what we're doing.
Yep.
And we were going to go with the humanist perspective, but then we got to actually scheduling dates and looking what was coming, and then we're like, all right, when we actually start doing because next week will be an extra again, but when we record for the following week, we'll be recording for the next episode, and it will be about to be the autumnal equinox, right? Live the day the episode goes live. So which do we do?
Yeah. Do we talk about this is what it's like 3 days before the equinox, or do we talk about it like it's the equinox? Yeah,
exactly. And that seemed to spark the debate. And part of me is like, I want to share that stuff with people. And I'm wondering if we could combine the two, because if something major is happening, like right around the date of a live, like the equinox, we should do that part as part of the thing. And then like the lunar cycle could be exactly where we are, or the time.
I'm sorry, I have to interrupt you for a minute.
Yes.
Only because you stepped on a mine there, and we're going to have to talk about this some more offline. But
no,
you mentioned a word in there, live. We could do that on the YouTube channel that I'm setting up. I just haven't got it all the way set up yet. But there's a thought where we could actually do live events and have people being able to respond and make comments and ask questions and whatnot. We could do live events for those particular super special rituals, like the solar cycle. And I kind of want to get back to what are the different kind of cycles that people can expect and whatnot.
Okay, well, we have the solar cycle, which for us, there's the 4. There's the 2 equinoxes, the 2 solstices.
Right.
That's the giant sine wave. And hopefully people know what a sine wave looks like, because the equinox is at the midpoint, winter solstice at bottom, summer solstice at the top.
Yep, you saw me flicking screens here because I pull up my little cheat sheet.
Yes, and then you have what we call the cross-quarter times, because many other witches, pagan, Wiccans, etc., celebrate things with different names. One in February, one in May, one in August, and we all know Samhain at Halloween. That seems to be pretty consistent, and it has always been like a specific date.
Sure.
Which can be pretty arbitrary.
Right.
It doesn't match up with like a solstice or an equinox, which is like a specific
astronomical
thing. And we figured out that it's more the whole season. Over the years, Sue and I, it became not just a date, but a time of.
Right. So we're going to have a segment that talks about what we are doing to observe.
Yeah.
Say for example, let's say the next one, and we're talking about the autumn equinox as a function of the solar cycle.
Exactly. We're in the middle of the times of love mass.
We are also, we are going to, I'm going to back up and say it again for it.
Sorry.
We are going to talk about the ritual that we would perform for the solar cycle, meaning the equinox.
Yep.
Then we are also going to talk about the fact that while we are here in the times of Lofmas, what we are doing to observe air and things like that.
Exactly.
And then we are also going to have a segment on the lunar cycles. So each episode will have what was the catchphrase that we were using? Hey, what's up with the moon right now?
I think it's that moon at or something. You'll hear Dave say it.
Yeah, where's the moon at? Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that gives us an opportunity during each one of the episodes to be able to talk about that lunar cycle and how the moon is affecting our energies and whatnot.
Uh-huh. Because you and I mentioned last week, my God, we had a super moon and a blue moon at the same time, and boy, were we a little wonky, both of us.
I am still trying to catch up on my rest.
Me too. My sleep's been off the last couple of days. I think it might be a result of that.
Just a little chaosy. Yep.
No, just.
So we're gonna talk about the solar cycle, the times of cycle, the lunar cycle,
and how they all fit together.
Right.
Oh, we'll really confuse the hell out of people, won't we, as we go along?
That's the idea.
Oh, good.
Then each episode, we're going to offer a little from our liturgy.
Which is another book that Sue and I wrote.
Yeah.
Where we put together all sorts of praise poems and psalms, which to us are kind of a deep expression of human emotion, I guess, more than anything else. And chants and all those other things that you would never think of as prayer, but you're talking to some kind of energy.
It's magic words. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a magic word.
You had mentioned earlier that just for this particular episode, because we are kind of closing off a chapter and evolving into a new chapter, you had mentioned a sample with this one psalm for a new beginning. I was going to suggest maybe that we just close out tonight with that.
Oh, I like it.
I would be happy to read that at the end, and then we can say our graces and get busy for next one.
Yeah, because we will have to get organized and figure it out what you guys think.
So what kind of stuff are we going to get out of the liturgy then?
Well, there's all sorts of bits and pieces. I mean, if we're sitting here at a full moon, there's a full moon chant. There's, there's one for each of the elements, because our cross quarter times.
Sure. Right now we're observing air. Yep.
Yep. Well, that's because we associate this particular time with the element of air. Sue and I figured out where we live and practice during each of those different cross quarter times. The big thing seems to be we find it more easy to access the energy of connect to the energy of work on a relationship with, fill in the blank, one of the four physical elements more easily. It doesn't mean the other three are gone or not available or whatever. It's like almost like a dance, and one steps forward and it's my turn to lead kind of thing.
Sure.
And then you switch partners and you start all over again the next season.
Well, and something I was just going to slide in here is at least half a dozen times during tonight's discussion, we've been talking about this cycle or this sign diagram and how the different times of year line up. And our different times of on the cross corners, times of Beltane, times of Losmas. If you have trouble, the listener, if you have trouble picturing or tying together like I did the first couple of 100 times that I heard about this cycle, I have like a cheat sheet laid out that shows the time of the year and whatnot that I'm going to be building onto a chart over the next few days, probably using Canva. So if you want a pictorial or a way to be able to see that, you will be able to find a reference chart like that at youngcronescafe.com/solar cycle wave chart. And that's all one word. Again, youngcronescafe.com/solar cycle wave chart. And that'll give you an idea so we can talk to us and others about where you are on that particular wave. And we're going to be talking in the podcast primarily about where we are on that wave and what we're doing in our current practices based on these different cycles.
And that was a wonderful way to explain it. And if you want to think of it, you can also substitute that up and down for the lunar cycle in its own way.
Sure. Yep.
It's just shorter. So it's a different energy.
Sure.
It can sometimes be much more intense, I guess is a good way to describe it. Don't you think?
If you happen to remember when I do the first draft of that diagram, remind me and I'll superimpose a lunar cycle just a little bit lighter underneath it to see where they match up and where they conflict and whatnot.
I am writing that down for you because I know what'll happen. Neither of us will remember until later, and then we'll be like, "Oh crap, we were supposed to do that."
Well, and while you're writing that stuff down, the next section that we were going to talk about, you had already mentioned, is the ritualization of the everyday.
Yeah.
And we had already kind of had sort of a practices and what are you doing recently segment. This is kind of a continuation of that, where we can talk about, the different spells that I have running on my dresser or you have on your windowsill and how those are working for us and what our practices look like during the everyday. And also, as you wanted to put some stress on making time for and observing and working and growing in your magic every day and making that a daily ritual or habit and getting that ingrained into the person that you are.
Yeah. And as you grow and change, what you do will grow and change.
Absolutely.
What we do is a bit of a stretch. Let's look at it that way. And we can talk about those struggles when we're, crap, I haven't done anything in a week and a half.
Sure. I need to get regrounded again. I need to get caught up. I need to forgive myself for letting myself get wrapped up in the mundane and missing a moon. That I swear for the longest time I used to beat myself up over missing stuff.
Oh, me too.
That's not a tool that I choose to flog myself with anymore. I look for the next one.
Yeah, and we get so stuck too with the idea that we can only celebrate on the full moon. We can do a wax. We have the right to practice however we want. Let's look at that. You can do a waxing moon ritual. You can do a waning moon ritual. We, on the path, celebrate the dark times of the moon, which we'll be sharing with you.
Yep, some of my favorite work.
Well, some of the people say, "Oh my God, you're not supposed to practice anything on the dark nights of the moon. It's void, of course." Blah, 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 blah. Guess what?
I think for myself there's some overlap between what I do during the dark nights of the moon and what some people refer to as shadow work. But that's a whole other discussion.
That's a whole other discussion. Let's not go down that particular rabbit hole today.
It's funny that you say that because it's in the script upcoming.
Yes, I know. The way that works. Yeah. You and I have had some of our best discussions when we've kind of fallen down the hole.
Well,
be honest.
The path to self-discovery is an awful lot of fun if you have a wingman, or a wing person.
I think so, and maybe if nothing else, you have somebody who is discussing it on a podcast that you're listening to.
There you go.
And
I'm going to throw another plug out there because I don't get nearly the kind of email that I would really love to get. So I am always happy to talk about anything, and I am Dave at YoungCronesCafe.com.
I am Elizabeth at YoungCronesCafe.com. I will try not to bury you in words because that's what I'm doing in another life.
Yep. She's the writer.
I can't help it.
So the next thing that we're going to have, and kind of finishing up, because we want to get back to some of the roots of where we come from, and by that I mean to Young Crones.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm very grateful to you, Elizabeth, for bringing me along on this journey. And one of the things that's been kind of special, but has sort of slid into the background a little bit, has been our Witchstones Oracle deck. And so I've committed for our upcoming year of episodes that I'm going to start doing a 1 card or a 3 card or just some sort of whatever I feel like reading for the particular energy of that moment.
I like that thought.
So I just wanted to let you know that I was still committed to that, and we will be hearing from the Witchstones Oracle.
Yes.
Maybe on interesting thought. I'm shuffling the cards right now, but I'm thinking maybe on if we do a recording on Susie's birthday, maybe I ought to bring out the original Bag of Stones.
So you can explain. Oh, I will make a note of that one too, because we have these ideas, and then
Yep, you're the one that writes them down. I just keep chugging them out.
well, not always.
All right, so this will be a card to give us some energy and some perspective, maybe some temperance into our upcoming journey. Oh, and the card that I drew is Winter Solstice in the Scene condition.
Dun, dun, dun.
So what does the Winter Solstice card mean to you?
To me, it's always kind of been a different kind of energy, regardless of what the card meaning you guys have. I don't want to deviate from the meanings we want people to start with.
Well, I do, because when I teach people how to read the oracle, I try to tell them that these are suggestions. You form your own with it.
Gotcha.
But right out of the little, not from the companion book, but from the little white book, the Winter Solstice card.
Go for it.
In the Scene energy is metamorphosis. It's actually a cocoon. It's regenerative energy. It's endings and beginnings. It's where I personally choose to start my new year. I go up to the reservoir at the top of the hill, and I walk all the way around the reservoir one direction. And then I pause and I pray for a minute, and I walk all the way around the reservoir in the other direction. And in my mind, I have just unwound the last year and wound up the new year.
Oh,
and I do that on the winter solstice. So
I like that a lot.
How perfect is it that we drew the card for
new beginnings,
endings and beginnings? Absolutely.
Exactly. And metamorphosis and change. Wow. And for me, it has always been also, if it's not actually winter solstice time or something major isn't going on, for me, it's a pause and reflect kind of moment card.
Yep, absolutely.
That kind of energy. Oh, something is changing.
Yep. Something is changing. Give yourself time to understand that this new energy has a different flavor, but it's still energy.
Exactly. So with all of the talk of new beginnings, I will read, if you like, our Psalm for a New Beginning.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Well, just quickly, Psalms to us are almost poems in that respect, and they feature a lot of feelings. And very often, when we're in the middle of a feeling, we can't give voice to it. So we wrote the Psalms, and it says, this is a psalm to give voice to the uncertainty and necessity surrounding a new beginning when you do not have the words to express them yourself.
Interesting. I was actually named for a psalm.
I know. But you know what I'm saying? And
Yep.
people can use them in that respect and change them if they need to, or update them or whatever. But Psalm for a New Beginning. Teetering on the threshold. I cannot move backwards. That path is closed. That ship has sailed. But I cannot see where to place my feet. I need to find the point of unveiling, that fresh start of change and growth. I have made all my preparations for this journey of discovery. So why am I so reluctant to set forth? I am waiting in the dark for the dawn to come again, like it always does. A faint sliver of gray on the horizon, blossoming into a new day full of promise, even when it rains, washing the world clean. I am ready for Genesis, the commencement of bringing what I need into myself. Creation and inspiration call my name on the wind, and I must answer with all of my being. I am a new beginning. I am riding the edges of creation. I am witch and seeker, who is the origin of a new beginning.
That's exciting. And our journey begins again.
Yes, it does. And hopefully you like our words.
Right.
Yes.
I'm already ready to start working on doing the next episode. I'm excited.
I am too. It's going to be fun. It is. And I want.
It's going to be rough. The first 3 or 4 are going to be clumsy. We did somewhere out there is a disclaimer that I distinctly remember Elizabeth writing that basically says something to the effect of, give us a few weeks to get the kinks and the bugs out.
That might have been the extra that's live right now about what we're planning to do.
Okay.
So now you and I are going to beat it to death over the next week or 10 days while we figure out, are we in the now or the future now, or the future is now?
Let me ask you this. Where are you leaning?
I am thinking probably a little bit of both,
Okay.
more than anything else.
Then I'll wait to hear more from that, or more from you about that.
Yes, exactly. So with that being said, please join us and see where we end up going next episode,
Hey, if you've got any ideas for new material or stuff, send us an email. We love to hear from folks.
Oh yeah, if anything that you would like us to focus on as part of different areas of discussion as we start moving forward with this.
Sure.
When we have a couple under our belt and you say, wait a minute, I need you to focus a bit more on this kind of thing, please feel free. And if you absolutely love it and or hate it, or just want to tell us that you think we're doing okay, shoot us an email. We'd love to hear from you.
Always.
Exactly. So with that being said, my friends, may you find mirth and reverence in all things.
Be safe, be kind, and be loved.
It looks like the coffee cups are empty for this week. We hope you join us again next Tuesday, but you can find us at our website, 2youngcrones.com. That's the number 2, Young Crones.
We'd love to have you join our growing online Discord community. Check out our new Patreon presence. Just look for Young Crones Cafe. Through Patreon, you'll be able to make it to our Discord. We are also Young Crones Cafe on Twitter and Facebook.
Until then, remember, we are witches who work with energies to effect change.
We are believers in both immanent and transcendent divine.
We are celebrants of the passage of the solar and lunar cycles.
We are hedge walkers who pass back and forth between the worlds of the magical and the mundane.
We are seekers of knowledge.
And we are walkers of a spiritual tradition we call the Path.
So mote it be.
So mote it be.